Thank you for listening in to Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button and share. Thank you for listening to Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button and share. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. I'm your host, Alison J. Today, I'm delighted to welcome our guest, Kevin Briggs. Kevin is also known as the guardian of the Golden Gate Bridge. He was a California Highway Patrol officer noted for his work in suicide intervention, having dissuaded more than 200 people from jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge into the San Francisco Bay. He retired from the California Highway Patrol in 2013 to focus his efforts on suicide prevention to promote crisis management, leadership skills, and suicide intervention prevention worldwide. He continues speaking and teaching at conferences and law enforcement events, as well as consulting and advising major corporations. Kevin's personal story includes being a cancer survivor, overcoming heart issues, divorce, PTSD, and depression. He is also a survivor of suicide loss within his own family. An inspiring mental health and suicide prevention speaker with over 20 years of experience in crisis management and suicide prevention. As a sergeant for the California Highway Patrol, Kevin has responded to hundreds of calls for suicidal individuals on the Golden Gate Bridge, talking them back over the railing into safety. Kevin has now dedicated his training and experience to helping people before they ever get that close. Kevin, welcome and thank you for joining us on Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me and to share your experiences, your journey, because I was talking to someone the other day and they thought that it was so morbid of me to be talking about this topic. And I just said to her, but thanks to you and you telling me of the statistics the last time we spoke, when
Right.
you telling me we lose more people to suicide than we do to car accidents.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And
it gives me something when somebody says something like that. I know they have not been affected by mental illness or suicides then.
Mm-hmm.
If they were, they would say, I'm so happy you're talking about this because we need to do more of it.
Exactly. And one thing I've learned recently with everything that's going on in the world, how the awareness of some things is just not present within some people. And the reason being, it's because it's not something that has ever affected their reality. So in some respect, you can forgive almost some people's ignorance to a topic because it's not been something that's ever affected them in any way, shape or form. They don't know anybody who has tried taking their life by way of suicide, nor do they know anybody who has actually lost their life by way of suicide. So that just made me even more grateful for you taking the time to come and speak with me today to really raise more awareness to some of the challenges that are going on around us that some of us are completely oblivious to.
Yeah, and you know what? Good for that person that they haven't been affected by this.
That is true.
Very, very lucky. I would hope that they at least would watch something like this, so if something did happen, they could have a little better understanding of it and not go into this blindly like so many of us do when we don't know about a subject or a topic.
Yeah.
To at least have that little bit of, oh, I remember somebody talking about this.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And what you were saying too about when you're saying they go blindly into it, for some people, it's not just that they go blindly into talking to somebody about suicide, the judgment that they have attached to it as well.
Yep, absolutely right.
That is in my opinion, I don't know how you feel about it, that is actually quite dangerous, a dangerous mentality and thought process to have.
It really is, to put that judgment without digging into it all and finding out a little bit about it. Go talk to a parent that has lost a child to suicide. And
Mm,
you want to sit down and have a cry about something, talk to them and tell them that their child was not valued, and tell them that, what their child had. No, that wasn't anything. They just did this. It is absolutely brutal to talk to these folks who have lost someone, especially a child. And then you'll find a meaning in something. And then you may want to dig further into this.
mm,
What can you do? Maybe you want to volunteer for one of the NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, or AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Maybe you want to volunteer at one of their events to find out even more and to help those who are suffering.
mm. And even if you don't want to get involved on that kind of level, at least should you ever be in the position where you have to have that conversation with somebody, you're going into it with no judgment and no
Yes.
preconceived notions or ideas.
And really, that's all we can ask, to go into this without judgment. That you are so ahead of everybody else if you can do that.
Mm, mm.
That's
So,
really the ticket.
Kevin, I would like, if you don't mind, for you to talk to us about your journey that led to the work that you are now doing.
Yes. Uh, I was in the California Highway Patrol, and I was assigned to work on the Golden Gate Bridge. It is in my county where I'm from, Marin County, California, which is just north of the Golden Gate Bridge. So prior to working with the Highway Patrol, which I started with them in 1990, I had no idea. I had crossed that bridge many, many, many times. My father had a business in San Francisco, so I'd been across that bridge many times, but I had no idea of the amount of people that went to that bridge, mostly from the Bay Area, but from other states and even out of country. Folks that went there to contemplate or just plain to jump for suicide. No idea about this until I started working on the bridge and seeing these folks. Now, on the bridge, we have 6 lanes of traffic, a sidewalk on each side, and then over this 4-foot pedestrian rail is what we call the chord, CHORD, and it looks like an I-beam. And this is where many, many folks would go, and they would stand on this I-beam contemplating on what they wanted to do next. If they were going to jump, there's nothing on the other side of this I-beam but about 220 feet down to the water. And very, very, very few people survived jumping off of this bridge. So one of my tasks when I was assigned to work on the bridge was to talk with these folks. And I would average 4 to 6 a month. And I did this for almost a decade. That's a lot of people.
Mm,
Of course, not all of them came back over the rail. The majority did. If we did get a chance to speak with them, the majority would come back. But it absolutely breaks our heart,
mhm,
my heart, when someone would jump, and to see that. But I learned a hell of a lot. But I will tell you, I did not have any training prior to me starting working on that Golden Gate Bridge. It was some years before I went through what we have now as crisis intervention training for officers, CIT. Many,
okay.
many law enforcement officers around the United States are taking this, and it's a great start. And then it was even way towards the end of my career when I went through the FBI Crisis Negotiator School. I was one of the very few highway patrolmen to be able to do that, and it
Mm,
was wonderful. So I very much advocate at least every officer that can do this to go through crisis intervention training. It's a great start. And then what I do now is I travel, and I'll even teach with the FBI. They'll come out and do a crisis negotiators course, a 40-hour class, and I'll go in and talk for a couple hours on this. So I've been blessed to be able to do this, but I'll talk to negotiators or folks who are just coming into this and want to do this type of work. It broke my heart to see these people over the rail, to look into their eyes. That's what really got me into this, is, and wanting to be better, is to look in someone's eyes and see that most of them want to live. They just can't get past what is happening right now and what is going on with them. Maybe it's years of abuse. It could be financial issues. We don't know what it is. And of course, we can't fix it.
mhm,
But just to be there for them, I found that the power of listening was huge when it came to these folks. not to blame them, not to say, well, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? Why are you here today? But to simply be there for them and to try to understand what is going on with them. So that's it in a short run anyway.
And I noticed that you said that you didn't have any formal training when you were part of the California Highway Patrol to start with, when it came to negotiating and to speaking to people that had climbed over the railings of the bridge wanting to jump and just end it all. So what then were you doing leading up to that made you, because the first, I'm sure if you had no formal training, I'm sure the first time you saw something like that, what did that do for you?
My first call was a strange one. I get the call of a woman over the rail, and there's that part of me where the cop kicks in and says, oh, what is she doing over there? She's trespassing. She's breaking the law.
Right.
Now it's humorous, but really it's not. And the other part of me was, wow, this is a possible, what we refer to as a jumper.
Mm-hmm.
So, I get down there and I'm talking with this young woman, and I didn't know what to say. I'm thinking, if she does jump, am I in trouble? Am I responsible for this?
Mm-hmm.
It was a terrible experience. But she did, in fact, come back over, and then we take her to one of the local hospitals, or I took her to one of the local hospitals, SF General, San Francisco General in this case, where they get evaluated by a mental health professional to see what they can do further for this young woman. So it took some time, but boy, I'm be honest with you, I was scared. I didn't know what to do. So, and just speaking with her, but I found that the listening was the big part, just being there for them and not being distracted with things. So my full attention was on her, and still to this day, if I'm talking to someone, my full attention needs to be on them. That's the thing, is to not be distracted by a cell phone, by somebody else coming up and trying to speak with us. Anything else, it has to be between those two people, and to have this interaction go smooth. So this is what I teach folks, and I tell them, one of the things that I learned to do was, instead of just to walk up on that individual, is to stay back a ways, and I would just raise my right hand. So, hi, I'm Kevin. Is it okay if I come up and talk with you for a while?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not Sergeant Kevin Richard Briggs with the California Highway Patrol. I want to make this as easy as I can to develop this rapport and to try to change this behavioral way of what they're doing, what they think they might want to do. So I'm just going to be Kevin. If I'm allowed to use their first name, that's what I'm going to do also. I want to personalize everything. So if their first name's Tom, I'm going to be saying Tom a lot. Tom, how do you feel about this? Tom, what's going on today? So by doing that, I think I can build rapport better, establish myself into their life, so to speak, and let them know that I'm there for them and I'm going to listen.
And one of the things that stood out to me when you were just speaking, when you were saying not being distracted by anything, not being distracted. And I'm sure one of those things is not being distracted with what's going on for you personally, because you yourself personally, you've overcome so much. You're the survivor of cancer. You've overcome heart issues. You've gone through a divorce. You've suffered from PTSD, depression, and you're also a suicide loss survivor as well. So how is it for you to be able to completely detach yourself and to give when you yourself have gone through so much?
What I try to do is put myself in their shoes, to have that empathy of how would I feel and who would I want speaking to me if I was over that rail at this time. And I'm feeling, you know what, I don't think I want to be here anymore. I just need a few more minutes to contemplate things. Who would I want talking to me? So I don't talk about those things. I had, like you said, I had cancer. I had testicular cancer when I was 20 in the Army. I had multiple operations. I had several months of chemotherapy. I've had some head injuries. went through a divorce to where my ex-wife wrote a suicide note to each of my boys and was looking up on the computer how to load a gun. Lots of different things have happened in my life, but lots of things have happened to many people. I've
Mm-hmm.
had 3 heart surgeries, a lot of different things. But I don't talk about that with folks who I'm speaking with because I don't want to compare my situations with them. And yes, you did say this. I did lose my grandfather on my father's side to suicide. But I don't bring things up unless they tell me, well, something like, you don't know what it's like to have cancer.
Mm.
Well, I do. And that's something that we have in common if they do have it. It's crappy, it's horrible, but it's
Mm.
something that we have in common, and commonalities create comfort. So if they do want to talk about that, I'm happy to share what I went through with them. Mainly, I try to make it about them, and not that I can fix anything. I don't even try, but simply by allowing people, and most folks know this, by allowing someone to speak and to vent and to get everything off of their chest, not to blame or to argue with them. That's huge for people. Simply having someone there to really listen and then to validate what they're going through. And, that sounds really tough. I'm sorry you're having to go through that. That means a lot to folks.
Mm. Yeah, I can imagine, because sometimes it's just what needing someone to listen, isn't it?
It is, to try to listen, to understand, not to fix things, because I can't fix all these things that have been going on with someone, but I can certainly be there for them and be a sounding board.
Mm. And just a couple of things came to mind from you saying that. It's first and foremost, when you started your career as with the California Highway Patrol, did you ever in your wildest dreams imagine that this is some of the things you'd be dealing with that would lead to where you are today?
Never. I never thought I'd be in the highway patrol. I was working in San Quentin State Prison, and a guy I was working with said, "Hey, I'm going out for the highway patrol. You want to come with me?" And, I'll go way back. And I remember thinking to myself, those guys look pretty smart and squared away. I don't think I could do this. But we both went down and put in our paperwork, and I made it. And unfortunately, he didn't. But and then to be a traffic cop and to do a TED Talk, be honored enough to do that. And then all the things that have happened in the past 7 years since I've retired, I've been truly blessed. I tell folks, boy, because I get to do presentations now to all sorts of different crowds. And I tell them, I'm not a public speaker, and it doesn't sound good for my business for pivotal points, but I tell them I'm very uncomfortable on stage, but I believe in what I say, and it's true. And what has happened to me, I believe it can help folks. So that drives me and helps me to do more and more and more, and to meet you and be doing this right now. I would not be doing this. This isn't me. I'm very much an introvert. But if it's going to help some folks, then we're going to do it all day long, because that's what this is about. It's about reaching folks and letting them know. Many folks have heard this. It's okay not to be okay.
Okay, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one thing that I learned. I think I learned that for the first time probably about 7, 8 years ago, where you don't need to try to be Superman or Superwoman. We are all human beings. We have emotions. We have things happen to us in our lives. And it's okay to one day say, I'm not okay today.
Absolutely.
Have you got a minute? Are you can and I think also, I think the important thing is that we should try, I should say, to find at least one person in our circle that can be that listening ear should we need it on the days when we're not okay. Because people tend to too often withdraw into themselves, and that sometimes is where the danger starts, because they feel as though there's no one there for them, nobody understands, they can't cope, and then it spirals, it snowballs.
It really does. You're absolutely right. And if you can find 2 or 3, even better.
Mm-hmm.
And just know that goes on to you too. You're there for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell folks, you can call me 24 hours a day. Maybe I can't pick up right then, but I will as soon as I can and get back to you. We need to be there for one another. So I know I have folks that I can call 24 hours a day. and they know that they can call me. That's what this is about. Developing relationships, developing rapport, being there for one another. I tell folks, we all have bad days. We do.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. But when those turn into 2 weeks,
Mm.
that's a long time. We need to get some help. We really do.
Yes, that is so true. And one of the things that I was thinking of, because you mentioned that you lost your grandfather on your father's side to suicide, do you think that made you more effective in being able to do that and have that compassion for people because it's something that has touched your life and your family's life?
Absolutely. I would hope that I would be like this even if that didn't happen.
Mm,
But I think all those things that happened to me with the cancer, the heart issues, getting in a really nasty motorcycle crash where another rider came over double yellows and hit me head on and I was knocked out for quite some time. All these things
mhm.
I think have developed me into what I am today, whether that's good or bad. I'm hoping for the good.
For the good.
But it's about being there for other people.
Mm,
That's what this is about. But
mm,
it's also very taxing to
mm.
listen to folks too. And we take these stories in. So when I talk with mental health professionals, I'm saying, I'm hoping y'all are watching out for yourself too, because we have
Yeah.
this passion fatigue, this vicarious trauma. When you're hearing these stories, that's going into you too. And for
Mhm.
those of us who have that great imagination, we're trying to put ourselves there. So we have to watch out for ourselves also.
Yes, and that is true because you're saying that you're hearing all of this, you're taking this in, whether you are the support network or an actual professional working in that. Because I'm a firm believer in you are what you eat. And I don't just mean physical food, whatever you take in, whether it's through and what you're hearing, what you're seeing, anything that you're taking in, it has the potential to fester on the inside of you if you don't have a healthy outlet for it once you've listened to and been there for people that are feeling suicidal.
Absolutely right. And I would hope that people would contemplate and think about these things prior to this. If you knew someone may be suicidal and you're going to have a conversation with them,
Mhm.
get as much information as you can before you went and spoke with them. Where are you going to have this? What are you going to say? What are you not going to say?
Mm.
Do you have a backup plan? All these different things. Because just to have a conversation with someone, our day-to-day stuff, no big deal. Maybe you're distracted. Maybe you'll have to take a phone call. But when it comes to someone who may be in crisis, that is an entirely different thing. And if you're going to do this, which we should be doing because we're losing 48,000 people a year just in this country to suicide alone, that's a lot of people. We need to be having these conversations and trying to get them to seek help and even taking them to seek help.
Yeah, there's 48,000 people a year to suicide. And when you look at those numbers, that is a lot of people that we are losing. And we're stopping to think that, okay, what can we do? Or what are we not doing?
Right.
Why we are losing so many people? Because that works out to be what, 4,000 a month?
That's a lot of people. And it doesn't have to be that way. People are struggling, but if we can have this conversation and try to understand what is going on with them,
Mm-hmm.
try to get them to mental health professionals, hopefully those who've been trained in suicide assessment and ongoing training to help folks get past the crisis that they may be in, then, I think we have an obligation to one another,
Mm-hmm.
not only to ourselves, and I think we have a right to be happy. What
Yeah.
can we do? So,
Yeah. And because I was looking into it and I wanted to do a bit more research because I was quite surprised to learn that more men actually attempt and also lose their lives to suicide than women. And I was reading, there's a gentleman that had written a book, he's from Australia, and the statistic he came up with, and I was trying to reach out to him to find out now, is this just in Australia or is this worldwide? Because what he had written is that men are 354% more likely to die by suicide than women.
Wow.
I was completely blown away by that.
And I know it's white males more than anything else that will complete a suicide. So, yeah, we have a lot of work to do in this society. And this is just one issue. And of course, well, with this COVID going on,
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I think we're going to lose more. So,
Mm-hmm.
we need to step it up. All of us who are doing okay need to step it up and help out those who are struggling and suffering.
And it's interesting that you say that, because you say those of us that are doing okay, but sometimes we don't know that people are struggling and suffering, though.
Right. Right.
Sometimes because I know that, sadly, I remember somebody that I went to school with, a member of their family, he hung himself, and everybody was just left completely flabbergasted, because this was a young man with two children, and everybody was left thinking and asking each other, what happened? How did we not see that? So, is there anything in your experience and through your training that you could say, okay, listen out for these kinds of things, or watch out for this? Because I'm not saying that we're going to be able to catch every situation and be able to get it right every time, but surely there must be something that can help us to not lose as much as 48,000 people a year just in the US alone.
So there are some things that we're looking for. One is when people start isolating themselves.
Mm.
Maybe every Wednesday, you and I are supposed to meet for coffee. And I start skipping that. And I don't even tell you why. I just don't show up. Or you're texting me and calling me and saying, hey, Kevin, where are you? And I just don't want to leave the house. I go, I'm fine. I just want to stay in today. So self-isolation is a big one. If they were taking a medication for a mental illness, they stop taking it, and maybe they're hoarding medications. If they're giving away things, wow, that's that prize watch that you always liked, and you saved a lot of money for that, and you want me to have it. What is that about? What's going on there? Writing or talking about it, or even kidding about it nowadays. So that's a big one. I've read a couple of studies to where people have spoken about death or suicide or written about it. That's a big one to watch for. But things out of the ordinary. Are they bathing? Are they shaving? Things that is not typical for them. So they've been one way all their life, and all of a sudden everything's changing up.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? And we're not saying they're suicidal, but what's happening? Maybe they're just looking for a change. Mm-hmm. But at least it's something to check out and look into. But I think the big ones are isolation, giving away things, talking or writing about suicide or death. So that's some of the things that we're looking at.
Okay, that's very good to know, because again, this was a few years ago now, so I don't recall if there were those things that we could have picked up on, but the fact that we have an awareness of something that we can look out for and pick up on, that's great information. Thank you. And I remember you and I talking about the language that is now used around suicide, because if we jump back to people being judgmental, and I told you that I had learned very recently that all these years we've always said that somebody committed suicide, and I was correct and said, actually no, that's not correct, and you can't use that. And I'm not bringing this up because I want to be politically correct. I would like you to explain to our listeners how you explained it to me about the negative connotations that go with the word committed.
So when we say committed suicide, it brings a negative annotation about that individual and about what happened with them. When many, many times these folks, they haven't done anything wrong. They're just trying to escape the pain that they're in. And most of the time, they don't want to die. They want to live. They just can't see how. But when we say someone committed something, generally we're talking about someone committed a crime. Right. This is not a crime. these folks want to live for the most part. They just can't see past the pain, the emotional pain that they're in. So we use the verbiage, and we're trying to get more people to use the verbiage of maybe they died by suicide or they lost their life to suicide, something like that, rather than committed suicide.
That's good to know, because if we look at what we were speaking about earlier, the judgment that's attached to it and how people speak about suicide, something as simple as that will help to humanize, for want of a better word, so that people can start to look at it and think, okay, losing their life by suicide, that actually makes it more personal. That actually makes it real.
So if I told someone to explain this even better, take the Golden Gate Bridge, 220 feet up. That's a long ways. Imagine going over the 4-foot pedestrian rail and standing on this beam out there.
Mm-hmm.
You think that takes a lot of courage? I think so.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the courage it takes to jump off of that? That's no easy task. So to say someone committed suicide, like they did something wrong, no, that took a hell of a lot of courage. What was in their mind to do that? Because they were suffering. They were suffering so great they couldn't take it anymore. They want that pain to end. They don't want to hurt anybody else. They didn't want to hurt their family. All they wanted to do was have that pain, this immense pain in their head, to end. So that's why we're trying to get away from that terminology and to give folks a little better understanding of what's going on with someone if and when they are actively suicidal.
That is so true, because I remember for myself, my own experience with that was, that's what I remember. That's the thing I kept saying over and over again. I just want the pain to stop.
Exactly.
I just want the pain to stop. And I recall when the paramedics were trying to work on me and deal with me, at first, I think I was just completely confusing them, because they kept saying, "Where's the pain? Where's the pain?" But as that's literally all the only words I could get out. I just want the pain to stop. And you're right. It's not because in my mind, my way of thinking is, if I wasn't here, that would just be so much better for everybody, because I felt like I was being a burden, because things were constantly going wrong and just so much was happening that I just felt like, okay, I'm really struggling. I'm drowning, so to speak, is how I felt. And I just wanted the pain to stop. So it's not necessarily that I wanted to die per se. I just wanted the pain to stop. So you're so right when you say that people just want the pain to stop. And if more of us had compassion and we were doing those checks with the people around us in our lives, maybe some people wouldn't get to that level of pain to then want it to stop.
Right. That's their plan, to escape this pain that they're in. And other things that we're looking for, like you said, people feel like they're a burden. Things to watch when someone goes through a divorce, that's a huge amount of stress.
Mm-hmm.
Someone loses their job, they lost their income. Now maybe they lose their home, their cars, their way of life, so to speak. So if they're diagnosed with a cancer, if they lose a loved one, and if we talk about grief, if we get into that, they say, what happens when an ordinary death, the only ordinary death I could think of is old age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That grief can last 2 years for folks. Well, can you imagine how long grief goes on for someone who loses a loved one to suicide? Just lifelong. So if they've lost someone, that kind of thing. These are things that we also look at.
And it's true what you're saying there, the grief for someone that lost a loved one to suicide, because there's no closure, so to speak, is there? There's no rhyme or reason for, because if somebody died due to an illness or a car accident or something like that, at least you can put the reason behind it, and as tragic as that is. But when it's suicide and you're just thinking, hold on a second, especially when in situations where it's a partner and you're thinking, hold on a second, I was here with you every day. We slept in the same bed. How did I not see? How did I not know?
Absolutely. And there's the blame. There's so many questions that are left unanswered. We're blaming ourselves. We're blaming that individual who lost their life. We're blaming others. And then they can really go downhill. But I will tell folks, and I do tell folks, it's that person who did the act. It's solely on them. We did what we could, the best that we knew how at the time. So, if they do this act, like I had a very difficult time when I lost a few off of the bridge that jumped right in front of me, some that I had been speaking with for quite some time.
Mm.
But when it was explained to me that that is their decision and theirs alone, we did the best that we could at that particular time. And that helps.
Yeah.
I take it, okay, what did I do? I could have done something better, and it will just eat you up. But we did what we could at the time.
And you saying that, that's just commendable for and admirable for who you are as a person, that this person that until they got to the bridge, you did not know them, anything about them. And it's so the fact that you left there on the occasions of those that you did lose, and you still took it to heart to question yourself, like, could I have done anything different or better or anything like that? So if you're thinking that and feeling that way, you can just only begin to imagine the families left behind thinking, what, how, why?
Right. Exactly. It's so brutal to watch families go through this. It's unimaginable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when I get a chance to do these community events and I go out and talk, we are still going to lose folks.
Yeah.
But let's do what we can. And I don't say save. I don't think I saved anybody. I was there on a very, very dark day and helped some people. Mm-hmm. Let's help as many as we can.
Yeah. And talking about helping as many as we can, I know that you had mentioned to me that you give some of your presentations in colleges. I mean, I know that of late, it's like something I don't think we've ever seen before, with the number of young people losing their lives to suicide. I heard just a couple of weeks ago where a young lad back in the UK, he was 17 years old, was cut from the team, and he took his life by suicide. And when I was growing up, I don't think that I ever heard of anybody within my age groups that had either known a family member that lost a family member, or anybody within my age group that we could say, oh my gosh, yes, when I was in my teens or early 20s, somebody that I know lost their life to suicide. But now, then it's something that I'm hearing more and more and more of. So how are the students in the colleges that you speak to, how do they take your presentations?
I'm grateful to be able to do it. And by the way, we're losing over 1,100 college students a year in this country. So it's very, very tough, and it's brutal on parents and everybody else around it. But to be able to come out, for me to go out and talk to college kids, it's great. It's so many people come, and it sounds very egotistical, and I don't mean it that way. It's people want to come and hear how can they help themselves and how can they help others. So it's really cool to be able to do this. But I think that we are pushing our kids and we are pushing people in society to be better and better and better and better. But what happens when they don't make the team? Mm-hmm. What happens when their significant other breaks up with them at this young age? Mm-hmm. It's okay. I'm telling you straight out, it's okay to fail. So what? You're still here. You have another chance. I've failed at many things. I've succeeded in a number of things.
Yeah.
We bounce back. We're not gonna win every time.
Yeah.
We're
That
not going to win at everything.
That is so true.
And
Because your
also,
point, sorry to interrupt you there, but
no, go ahead.
your point, I'm like, that's why I laughed when you said I failed at many things. And I just was trying to quickly just do the numbers in my head. It's like my life flashed before my eyes kind of thing with all the things that I did not succeed at. And I thought to myself, yeah, there's just so many things.
And it's true, but it's okay. We bounce back and we learn from everything. We
Hmm.
really do. We learn from each and every one. I've sat in on some interviews where I did terrible. I was prepared. I was totally prepared. And they did something in the interview. It caught me by surprise and I failed it miserably. And I go out and for a few days, I don't want to do a thing. Leave me alone. I'm madder than hell. So what? Something else will come back around. It will. We
Yeah,
just can't stop there. You're going to fail. I'm telling anybody who's watching this, you're going to fail. You're not going to win at everything. But
that
it's
is.
all right. So what? And for adolescents, many, many times, because that frontal lobe is not developed generally until you're around 25 years old, they see just 5, 6, 7 years in the future.
Mm,
They don't see past that. So they don't think, they think their life's over with. And when they broke up with a boyfriend, girlfriend, and maybe they were shamed, maybe they tripped and somebody caught it in video and it's being shared all over. So what? It's embarrassing. Yes.
mm,
Give it a week. Everybody forget about it. There'll be no big
yeah,
deal.
that,
We'll
that
get past it.
that is so true. And talking about the young people, when I'm just grateful that I'm from a generation that all my crazy stuff wasn't being able to be caught on film or camera
Right?
and wasn't being able to put out there on social media. So that must obviously increase the pressure for some of these young people to try and keep this or retain this level of perfection so that their humiliating stories and things like that are not put out there for all to see. And now because we also have the young people that we are losing because of cyberbullying
Yes.
and things like that as well. So the fact that you're going into colleges, and to be honest, I think you should be going into high schools as well, because we are hearing of high school children
Oh, yeah.
as a result of bullying and other things and breakdowns in the family and abuse and all kinds of things that are also taking their life by way of suicide as well. So I'm not, not trying to be morbid or anything like that, but it's something that we are seeing so many people. I was a bit surprised when you said the number 1100 because I didn't think it was that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. It is. It really is. And all I would tell the folks is if you have something embarrassing about somebody else, before you hit that button on that computer to put it out to the world, what if that was you?
Mm,
You're going to get a few, that was really cool what you did. But what did you do to that individual? You
yeah,
hurt them. What if it was you? That's all, if we just put it like that, if that was you that was caught in that act, I think that's going to help.
yeah. And it's really just teaching us to be more compassionate and more empathetic towards each
Yes.
other as well. And if we do that, we may be more sensitive to pick up on what those close to us are feeling, even if they're not saying anything.
Yes. Yes. So,
Because sometimes we have to listen to what they're not saying.
right. And you can pick up on things. All of us can pick up on things from people. So, I think we have the right to be happy and we have most of us have a strong desire to help others so
Mhm.
they can be happy because all of us are going to be hurting at some point. Maybe not to the point of being suicidal, but we all go through stuff. We do.
Yeah.
And if you can be there to help someone, and as they say in Australia, good on you.
Good on you, mate.
That's right.
Yes, that is so true, and I think that's really what we should be doing as a people, as a society, because we've got enough craziness going on in the world. Because while doing my research before reaching out to you, I also read an article written by a young lady. I believe she was in either India or Pakistan, and her brother had lost his life to suicide. And she was talking about the fact that it's not something until her brother did it, never it was never a thought, never anything that was raised in her country. But because it had now affected her family and she started to look into it, she was alarmed at the thousands of people that are lost in her country. And she started to put a foundation together and doing a lot of work in suicide awareness and prevention. That's pretty much what she does full time now. So really, it's something that is on the increase the entire world over, but yet something that we talk about behind closed doors in very hushed tones.
Really is. And it also depends on where you're at. I get a lot of emails from all over the world from folks who have seen the TED Talk or something else. Last week, I got one from a young lady in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So these things, like what we're doing right now, they get spread around the world. People are hungry for information on how they can help themselves and how they can help others. So this is vital. This is a tough time.
It
really
is. And especially because I think as of this week, the UK has gone back into lockdown. And you see the numbers of the COVID cases rising and so on. And you've got the holidays are coming. We've got thanks over here in the US. You've got Thanksgiving in 3 weeks. You've got Christmas next month. And a lot of people are isolated from their family members, because whereas for holidays you'd have the big gatherings and so on, Thanksgiving going to be a quiet affair for a lot of people. Christmas, the same thing. New Year's, when people congregate and get together to celebrate the start of a new year. So things are going to be so muted and subdued now that there's a lot of people that are struggling with that. And I remember at the beginning of the shutdown, I thought to myself, when you watch these movies and you see people that they put in solitary confinement for a period of time and they come out like they've losing or lost their mind, so to speak. And I thought to myself, as much as, yes, I could walk out my front door anytime I choose, I've got the internet, telephone, televisions, but the fact that I myself had spent I'd been isolated for almost 5 months.
Wow.
Yeah, almost 5 months. Even though I was working from home, like I said, I could pick up the telephone, but because I didn't have any human interaction, it was hard.
Right.
It was really hard. And I thought to myself, even though I still had all of these mod cons and luxuries around me and I still could come and go, if I'm finding it hard, now I can understand how isolation does affect you mentally and what it can do to people. So as you're saying, yeah, during this time, it's gonna be hard for some people.
It really is. And even if you just can't get outside, you just don't feel like you want to get out, if you could walk outside and let that sun hit your face for a few minutes, that's a great start. We go baby steps, step by step. If that's all you can do, that's fantastic. That will help you little by little. But it's a very tough time. It may get worse. We don't know yet. But I can tell you, if you can take the time to check on some friends and family every week, even a text. Hey, how you doing? Just checking on you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big text guy. Some people, they want to keep going back and forth, and I got
No.
that's not me. I tell everybody, please don't do that. It's just not me. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm not a text guy back and forth. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. Or if if we're texting for some reason, like business, do it, and then we're good. If we're sitting down at coffee, we can chat about anything for as long as you want. That's my thing. Some people they don't like to be in person. They like to do it on a chat, on a text, which is fine. Whatever is good for you, find something.
Absolutely. And you're so right. I'm glad you mentioned that about going outside and let that sun hit your face, because during the start of it, I wasn't doing that because I'd recently moved from one state to another. and I didn't know anybody. Literally, the closest person to me that I knew lives over 60 miles away. So
Wow.
yeah, and it was one of those things where one afternoon I decided that I was going to go outside, and it was literally only to pick up a package, but I decided, and there's some benches out the front, and I remember I just sat on one of those benches and I says, I got to sit here for a minimum of 20 minutes, because I remember hearing my mother say to me that to get vitamin D from the sun, you have to be exposed for a minimum of 20 minutes. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be here for a minimum of 20 minutes. But I actually stayed out a little longer. And I felt so different when I came inside.
Really,
I
it's hard
really
to do it.
felt different.
Yeah, good. And so you totally get it.
Yeah.
And you may think, oh, it's not, they're full of crap. It's not going to work out. Try it. It really can. Get outside. I happen to have a little park across the street from me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can go across there and watch the kids playing or something. I don't have to say a word to anybody. I can go out and just be by this park and watch folks get some rays hitting me. It makes a big difference. It really does.
Yeah, it does. And I definitely, before I did it, I actually would have probably wanted to be one of those people like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that I have done it now, I can put my hand up, say, absolutely, yes. And funny, you should say that you don't have to say a word to anybody, because I was sitting out there, didn't say a word to a single soul, just sat there silently, got some sun, and you wouldn't think that's all I did, the difference I felt within myself when I came back in. So I can definitely say to anybody, go and do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if, like I said, and you said, even if you don't talk to somebody, it's like now you're part of the world again. You're out here.
Yeah.
Just to be involved in something. You may be sitting just watching it. Hey, it works. It works. It really does.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we really need to remind people of is to do the simple things that will keep you in good mental health.
Yes. What do you enjoy? Take some time to write them down.
Mm.
Keep a notepad by your bed. You might have good ideas. Maybe you want to do a podcast. Maybe you want to write these things down. I come up with some cool stuff once in a while, and if I don't write it down, it's gone.
Yeah.
Completely like, oh, wasn't all right. So I make a lot of notes. I got this phone, the iPhone, and I go, hey, remember this?
Mm.
So this, we try to figure out what is good for us. And yes, write down what you like. Write down what you don't like. These are these are the things that bother me. These are the things that can help me out, because we forget a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say me anyway. I do. So I got lists for lists. And if I don't, here's one for you. And this is absolutely true. 2 days ago, I went to Costco, and I was only going to get 4 or 5 items, some for friends and different things.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I was going to look at was a brain supplement. I forgot to look for it because I didn't write it down. That's sad, isn't it? That's sad.
But here's another one for you then. So, because I was one of these people that prized my memory was, to me, my greatest thing, because I never had to write anything down. I didn't forget anything. So I was that person, to the point where I remember an ex-boyfriend asked me something and I said, I don't remember. He accused me of lying, because he's like, you never forget anything. But then as I've gotten older, it's just like, why did I come in this room? Why did I pick up my phone? What am I supposed to be doing? So I bought one of those supplements. I think it's like called ginkgo biloba or something like that.
Ginkgo biloba.
Yeah,
Yes.
I bought that. I forgot to take it. I bought it. I completely forgot to take it.
Or how many times have you done something like this? And you're looking for your glasses for 30 minutes and you're getting madder than hell. And I'm looking over, I go, oh. Yep, that's me. That's me. So
I've done the thing where I'm looking for the phone I'm talking on.
I like that. That's a great one there.
Yeah, I've done that because
Where's my
getting
phone?
ready, and that's like, okay, I was about to leave to go out, and it's just like, so I've got my keys, got my wallet, driver's license, got my purse, got everything, got my handbag, everything. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? I am tearing the place up looking for my phone, and then I'm getting frustrated on the call, and the person's like, Alison, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Like, I'm looking for my stupid phone. Like, Alison, you're speaking to me on it. Like, okay, thank you.
That's because
Yeah.
we have so many things going on. When I got a divorce years ago, my ex-wife is from Japan, so my boys are half Japanese.
Right.
And I wanted to do something with them, so we started doing Aikido. It's a Japanese martial art. You have to learn the language, little pieces of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun, and I could do it with my boys because I wanted them to retain that culture. It's very important. But my sensei, my instructor, would always tell us, wherever you are, be there, be in the moment. And he
Right.
would say, if you're washing dishes, then wash dishes. And I've kind of trying to train myself to do that because one thing I was famous for was putting the key in the front door, locking the front door, going away, and the rest of the day worrying about, did I lock the front door?
Yeah.
So here's what I do, and it sounds ridiculous, but I have my keys in my hand. I tell myself, my keys are in my hand. I'm putting them in the front door. I'm locking the door. And I'm good to go. And I don't have that issue anymore. Sounds ridiculous, but it works for me. But so many of us are not in the moment, and that's why we do these things.
Yeah, because we're anxious about something else. Because, like you said, there's something like the front door. I've done that because, like, did I lock the front door? Did I turn off the cooker? Is the iron still on? Did I unplug that? I was like, oh, did I unplug the tongs? I was doing my hair. Did I unplug it? Oh my gosh, I hope I didn't leave it plugged in. It's all these things.
Yeah.
And it's just literally just the noise in your head. And if you continue to do that, and if you think about it, if you've left your house first thing in the morning, you've got, did I lock the front door on my mind? And then you keep adding to it with everything that's going on throughout the day. It's like, okay, did I send that email? Did I return that phone call? Did I pick up this? Did I do this? And so if you keep doing that over a period of time, then of course, we're going to suffer from just complete burnout.
Right. Right. So I'm going to wrap this up in a big circle for folks. And I'm going to say, we got all these different things, but did you remember to do something for yourself today? Because we're always caring for others. We got all these other things going on. Did you remember to do something for yourself today?
And that is important. And do something for yourself without feeling guilty about doing something for yourself.
Yes, I like that. Very nice.
Yeah, that is key, because a lot of the times people think, oh well, my children need this and I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm just going to feel selfish. So actually, no, you deserve it.
You do. I
do.
agree with you 100%. Because if we're not happy and we're not doing well, how can we help others? How can we continue to do that? We're going to be grumpy. Yeah, you may have helped someone, but did you do it with a tone that was not quite there? And they're thinking, well, thanks for doing that, but don't bother again, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's funny you should say that, because somebody was offering me a cake very recently, but the manner and everything with which they were doing it, I was thinking, I'm good, thank you. No, because it was just like, I'm thinking to myself, you're not coming across as genuine in offering it. I didn't ask for it. You are offering it, but you're doing it in such a way. I was almost afraid that if I didn't take it, they'd throw it at me. But I really don't want it, because I really don't like cake. I don't like it. I don't want it. Go away.
So a very simple thing like that is stuck in your memory now as a bad occurrence.
Yeah. I was just thinking that if you're going to do something, do it from a genuine place of willingness and wanting to do it. And not only are you helping the person that you're doing something for, but you're actually helping yourself.
You are. And like I said, we're all going to have bad days. Know that. We take some time But if they start going more and more and more and more, talk to somebody or seek some professional help, something's going on.
Mm. Thank you, Kevin. That's great advice that you've given there. So I know that we're in COVID and we're in lockdown, so you can't really travel so much to give your presentations, but what is next for you?
So I've been working with some folks. We're going to do some things in schools, and we're going to do some things at some community events. A lot of stuff's going on, but it's kind of on the shelf for right now. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm still looking at doing virtual events. So at first I didn't want to do them. I was like, this isn't going to be right. I like to do them face to face with an audience and to be there, and then we can chat afterwards. But I debated this in my head for 2 weeks or longer. And I say, you know what? I think I'm making this about me when it's not about me. It should be about other folks and what's the information that I have that I could put out there for them. So then I've done several deals now where I've done these online presentations, and they've went well. I had to learn a whole new deal doing it using Zoom and things. So it was neat. People have helped me. Hey, do this, do that, to get to know how the system works, because I had to learn how to do this. I had the presentations, but I learned how to do this online. And instead of looking someone in the eye, you have to look at a camera now. And I'm looking into this thing. It's quite different. I'm used to, if I look down, now I'm looking at you, but it's not in the camera. So it's not being quite right. I'm learning a lot, but it's been really interesting. You know, this is one of the more positive things of this COVID-19 is learning to do this. Right. And I think we can bring some positive things out of this for everybody. A lot of stuff is not right, but it's what we are dealing with now. So let's try to make the best of it that we can. So that's what I'm doing now. And I'm going to be working with some folks. Hopefully we can do live presentations in the near future. I really enjoy those. It's nice to be able to get out and talk to folks, and then to have that one-on-one at the end where folks come up and want to meet me and tell me what's been going on with them. That's my therapy. So I like to do these, but I really like to do it in person, and it forces me to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And so I know, again, because everywhere is shut down and you can't get out, but if anybody wanted to know more about the work that you do, or if anybody just wanted to connect with you to do a presentation where they are, where can people find you, Kevin?
Sure. They can get a hold of me at Kevin Briggs at pivotal-points.com. My organization is Pivotal Points, but it's pivotal-points. So even if they just Googled me, I think my name would come up. If you just Google Kevin Briggs.
That's how I found you.
Yeah. Some people will say, oh, Guardian of the Golden Gate. Yeah, that's there too. I don't particularly like that, because I think there's many guardians of many Golden Gates around the world, not even just a bridge, but that's kind of the moniker that has stuck with me. So it is out there, and I enjoy chatting with folks. And if we can work something out to do a presentation, either virtually or in person, fantastic. Let's get out and spread the word and help some people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have. And you have a book, Kevin.
I do. Guardian of the Golden Gate, Protecting the Line Between Hope and Despair. Yeah. So I've put in some different things in that people can use to help themselves. I believe you have a copy of it.
I have my copy right here.
Look at that.
So yes, I have my copy.
And here's a little bit of trivia for you that you probably don't know. That picture was actually from the People magazine picture when they came out and did that. I wish I would have had a little better hair day, but when you wear a helmet all day, that's how it looks. So
you look absolutely fine. And I have, and this is a great book. Thank you for writing it.
Thank you.
And thank you for my copy. I'm very happy about that.
My pleasure.
Great. So I would honestly encourage everybody, get a copy of this. It's a great book. It's a good read. It's a helpful book. It's not just an entertaining read. It is actually a helpful book to read. So I definitely encourage folks to go out there, and get the book by Kevin Briggs. So Kevin, again, thank you so much for your time, taking the time to speak to us and taking the time to educate us on something that is very important and that could potentially, sadly, touch each one of our lives.
Right. Well, thank you for having me. This has been a treat and a pleasure for me. So anytime we can chat to help other folks and get the information out there, it's simply wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. And please keep us posted of your work and what's coming up for you. If we can support you in any way, spread the word, then by all means.
I certainly will. I
Okay.
certainly will. Thank you. This has been a joy.
Thank you so much, Kevin. All right,
Good.
take care. Thank you.
Okay. Good
Bye-bye.
night. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Alison J, talking about suicide prevention and suicide awareness. If you suspect anything in the behavior or the speech of someone that you know, someone connected to you, that may remotely sound as though they are suicidal, please, please, please take them seriously. There are many organizations, as Kevin had mentioned, that you can reach out to. There's the National Suicide Prevention Line here in the US. The number is 800-273-8255. Again, that number is 800-273-8255. You'll find the number on my website. I'll make sure that is up and available in the podcast for Kevin Berthea. If you're in the UK, there are many numbers that you can call: 08457 90 90 90. Again, that's 08457 90 90 90. Both of these numbers are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you're outside of the UK and outside of the US, please find a local number to you. It's an easy Google search: suicide prevention number. The numbers will come up. Please, 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 if you are feeling suicidal, or if you're having thoughts of being depressed and don't know what to do, reach out to somebody. As Kevin said, there is a hotline, there is a number for anything you have been through. You do not have to go through anything alone. You are not alone. We are here to help you. Thank you so much for listening to Conversations with Alison J. Until the next time.